Alright, so right now I'm going to show you guys how to make a Pantone color palette from a photo using Photopea. First you're going to of course open your image in Photopea, which will show up as a background over here. Then we're just going to add a new layer to put our colors on top of that. So we're going to go down under our layers window and we're going to click on the little new layers tab, which looks like a piece of paper with the bottom left corner folded up. And now we have a new layer right here. Next I'm going to go to my rectangle select tool and I'm going to just select, I want to do mine on the bottom here, I'm going to select a rectangle across the bottom. It's probably about 1 inch tall and it goes across the whole width of the image. Next I'm going to go to my paint bucket tool. And on this one, I'm going to actually just leave all of the edges of the colors. They're going to let them go all into one another without white. So I'll show you what I'll do for that. So I'm going to start off with maybe a brown color. So now that I'm on my paint bucket tool and I have this rectangle selected, I'm going to click the Alt Option key on my keyboard. I'm going to click on the brown tree trunk in a spot that I like. And then I'm going to click back on this rectangle here. And it's going to make the whole rectangle brown. Now, I don't want to use that whole rectangle for the color. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it and divide it into what I think would be about 1/5 of the width here. And then I'm going to go back to my paint can and I'm going to select my next color. So my next color I'm going to do is a green. Then I'm going to click, and now it's only filled in the section from where I moved this rectangle. So now I'm going to click on the selection part up here again. Using my mouse, I'm just going to slide over that area till it's about even with the first one I did. Then I'm going to go back to my paint bucket tool, and I'm going to select this time the blue sky color. I'll click right there. So I'm just going to repeat that process. Back to the selection tool, move it over here, back to my paint bucket tool, click the Alt option. So I'm going to click one of the tones of the flower petals here that I think is a nice mid-tone. Click right there. And I'm going to choose my last color. Try to keep it as even as you can, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm going to go with my last color. So I'll click on the paint bucket and then I'll try to get one of these nice tones here. I'll see how that looks. Alright, so now I'm going to go up to select and deselect and I'm going to check out my Pantone color palette here, and I think that looks pretty good. If you do, like I'm noticing right now, this one is a little bit wider than these. If I wanted to adjust that, since it's on a separate layer, and as long as I'm on that layer, I could go up to Edit and Free Transform, and I could actually drag it over a little bit, hit Return, and now I've stretched it and made them a pretty similar size. So now I have my image, I have 5 colors pulled from the image to make that color palette. And the last thing I'm going to do is, of course, save it. I'm going to go to File, Export As. I'm going to choose a JPEG. And then I always like to make sure my quality is at 100%. Click Save. And I'm going to title it Pantone Flowers. I mean, you could call it whatever you want. Choose where you save it to. I'm going to save it to my desktop so it's easy to find. Click Save, and now it's exported to your desktop. And then you could close it. And it's going to ask you, whenever you close it, if you want to save the PSD, because it automatically will open it as a PSD, but since you saved it as a JPEG, you can just click OK because you've already saved it. And then you're good to go.